Have you ever seen neighbors go from sharing sugar to burning each other's houses down? Or ancestors so fed up with human nonsense that they crawl out of the afterlife just to give us a lecture? Well, buckle up. Today's story has war, reincarnation, ancestral interventions, and even a baby who comes back with unfinished business. And no, this isn't a Marvel movie, though it's dramatic enough to be one. This is the story of a people haunted by their past, desperate for healing, and about a man whose return, from death no less, might be their only hope. Our story kicks off in the most ordinary of places, a marketplace. There's the usual chaos, buyers arguing over prices, sellers shouting about fresh produce, and then, right in the middle of it all, comes a man pushing a woman in a wheelchair. The man is Thori, the woman Thoriwa. They're not your average elders. They are, quite literally, messengers from the ancestors. But there's a problem. Thori, like most old men, is not too keen on talking. Maybe he's shy, maybe he's just done with human foolishness, but Thoriwa is having none of it. She coaxes him, nags him a little, and eventually he gives in. Together, they address the curious crowd, revealing a rather uncomfortable truth. They were once husband and wife, and back in the day, they were also keepers of the shrine. Everything was peaceful until the first madness struck. Neighbors turned against neighbors. Homes were burnt, people were killed, and chaos swallowed the land. Mgofu Ngoda, a revered leader, perished in the flames along with Thori, Thoriwa, and many others. Death sent them to the realm of the ancestors. But apparently, they weren't done with the living just yet. And so, they're back, sort of, to warn the people and remind them how their once peaceful world was destroyed by hatred and division. It's a grim start, but hey, every good story needs a bit of darkness before the light. We shift scenes to Kadesa's shrine early in the morning. It's calm, quiet, and about to be anything but. Mude, a messenger, is sitting on a stool waiting. Kadesa, deep in prayer, is chatting with spirits as one does when Mude delivers the bad news. The second madness has begun. Yes, they've done it again. Humanity never learns. Fighting has broken out in Mendika, and this time, it might be worse. The camp needs protection, and everyone needs to brace for the chaos creeping closer. Enter Bizia, Kadesa's son, spear in hand and suspicion in his eyes. He doesn't trust Mude one bit. Words are exchanged, weapons are drawn. Mude pulls out a pistol, and for a moment, it feels like blood will be spilled right there at the shrine. But Kadesa, the voice of reason, calms everyone down and introduces them properly. Just when the tension settles, Bizia brings up another problem. His brother Mattia is bringing two strangers, a man and a woman, to the shrine. Bizia isn't thrilled. He insists they should be stopped, especially because the woman is pregnant. Allowing a pregnant woman into the shrine, he argues, would defile it. Kadesa, however, has other plans. With a smile, he tells Bizia to bring them in. The strangers arrive. The man, Adonija, confirms Mude's grim news. Fighting has indeed resumed. Then suddenly, a baby's cry echoes from inside the shrine. The impossible has happened. Mgofu Ngoda, the same man who perished long ago, has returned, reincarnated through his second wife, Nora. It's a dramatic twist worthy of a telenovela. Adonija then shares a chilling flashback of a secret meeting where leaders plotted this new wave of violence. Weapons were prepared, and even local media was weaponized to spread hatred. History, it seems, is repeating itself. As the curtain falls, Kadesa is preparing to bury Mgofu Ngoda again. Our ancestral duo, Thori and Thoriwa, return for one more lecture. The baby from the shrine has grown into a man, a seer, just like Mgofu Ngoda once was. Thori and Thoriwa tell the people it's time to move forward and trust a new young leader, Mwami Mahando. But they also issue a warning: keep the doors to hatred closed, or history will repeat itself yet again. And with that, the old couple departs, leaving the stage and the audience with plenty to think about. We're now in Mwami Mando's consultation chamber. Two scouts have just returned from a mission to find Mgofu Ngoda. They bring news. He has two children, a son and a daughter. The son works as the personal assistant to the Prime Minister of Ndarima, and the daughter, fresh from her international relations degree, is eager to visit Mandika. Mhando decides to invite Mgofu and his daughter to the upcoming Remembrance Day festivities. Because, nothing says let's make peace like a big public celebration. Later on, Mhando meets with two elders to discuss the future. They talk about leadership, about modernizing titles, changing elder to Suja, and about the importance of inviting Mgofu back. They also discuss whether Mhando should continue leading. It's a thoughtful, strategic conversation, one that really shows how leadership must evolve if the people are to heal. The sun rises over Mgofu Ngoda's shrine. It's bigger, better, and honestly, far more impressive than Kadesa's ever was, a visual symbol of new hope and renewed governance. Two emissaries, Mtanj and Manavi, arrive from Mandika with a simple request: come home. Mgofu listens, his daughter Nora Yu, now a worldly young woman by his side. And then, in a moment that truly shocks them, Mgofu reveals that Mwami Mhando's wife has died, news they didn't even know yet. Clearly, the man's powers haven't faded. He promises to respond to their request after the customary 14 days of mourning. Finally, we reach National Remembrance Day. Leaders and elders sit together, and the people gather in anticipation. On stage, two creatures tied by a rope pull in opposite directions, a symbolic enactment of division. It's only when they work together that they both get what they want. The message couldn't be clearer. Unity is strength. Then comes the moment everyone's been waiting for. Mgofu addresses the crowd. His words are powerful, filled with wisdom and hope. Nora follows, delivering an equally inspiring speech. It's the emotional climax of the story, a nation on the path to healing. And then, tragedy strikes. Mgofu collapses mid-speech. But before falling, he delivers his final lesson, one last gift to his people. As the play closes, Thori and Thoriwa return one last time. They remind everyone that the wheelchair was never part of the original plan. A symbolic warning: if humanity doesn't learn from its mistakes, it will forever be rolling in circles, repeating them. And that, my friends, is the unforgettable story of The Return of Mgofu, a powerful play by Francis Imbuga. It's a story that blends the political with the spiritual, the tragic with the hopeful, and the past with the future. At its heart, it's about memory, the memory of wounds, of mistakes, of hatred, and the possibility of redemption. What strikes me most about this play is how timeless its message is. On the surface, it's a story about one community's struggle with violence and division. But look deeper, and it's a mirror held up to our own societies. The madness that Imbuga talks about, that cycle of hatred, tribalism, and revenge, is not confined to fiction. It's a pattern we see in the real world over and over again. The reincarnation of Mgofu Ngoda is more than just a plot twist. It's a metaphor for resilience, for the idea that wisdom and leadership never truly die. They return in new forms, in new generations, carrying the lessons of the past. But those lessons only matter if we're willing to listen. The symbolism in this play is rich and deliberate. The shrine represents tradition and continuity. The two creatures tied by a rope embody the futility of division. And Thori and Thoriwa, forever pushing each other on a wheelchair, remind us that if we don't learn from history, we're doomed to drag the weight of it with us forever. Imbuga also tackles leadership and its responsibilities. Mwami Mhando's attempts to reconcile the past and lead his people forward show that leadership isn't just about power. It's about healing, listening, and building bridges. Francis Imbuga, who lived from 1947 to 2012, was one of Kenya's most celebrated playwrights and a leading voice in East African literature. Known for his sharp wit, deep cultural insight, and fearless political commentary, Imbuga's works often explore themes of power, corruption, identity, and post-colonial struggles. His plays, including Betrayal in the City, Man of Kafira, and The Return of Mgofu, have become staples in African literature, widely studied in schools and universities. Imbuga had a remarkable ability to weave humor and satire into deeply serious stories, making his social critiques both entertaining and unforgettable. The Return of Mgofu isn't just a story about one community's past. It's a call to all of us to confront our history, to learn from it, and to make better choices for the future. It reminds us that peace isn't a one-time achievement. It's something that must be nurtured, protected, and passed down from one generation to the next. So the next time you see the signs of madness, hatred, division, suspicion, remember Mgofu. Remember Thori and Thoriwa. And remember that the wheelchairs of history are heavy, but they don't have to be permanent. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of Africa's most powerful plays, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Until next time, let's learn from the past, so we don't have to relive it. Hey, thanks so much for hanging out with me today. If you're interested in diving deeper into this book, I've left some links down in the description. You can use it to grab yourself a copy and keep the adventure going. And if you're in the mood for more great reads, don't go just yet. Click on one of the videos popping up right now that I think you'll love. And don't forget to give this review a like, leave a comment, or even subscribe if you'd like to see more. Every bit of support helps us grow this little community of book lovers. See you in the next one.